going on, YouTubeverse? John Stanek from Johnny Radio here, bringing you another Viva La Vinyl classic album review, and I'm so excited to be talking to you about the Beatles, my favorite band of all time, and their classic 1966 album, Revolver. Such a cool album, and just the artwork is so awesome. It was done by Klaus Bormann and won a Grammy just for the artwork. And man, this is just, this was in their middle years, right after Rubber Soul and right before Sgt. Pepper. But this is really where the groundbreaking of experimentation in the studio began. The first song that they recorded for this album was Tomorrow Never Knows, which is actually the final track on this record, but it's the one that had the most experimentation with doing backwards tape loops and all these strange sound effects. John Lennon ran his voice through a Leslie speaker to give it this strange sound. You got these bird noises, and it just has this droning sound that has a lot to do also with the Eastern music that they were getting into from India, George especially. But Tomorrow Never Knows, what a cool track. The rhythm of it, so hypnotic. Ringo's drums just kind of repeating, and him saying, open your mind, relax and float downstream. Yes, this is also a very drug-influenced record. If Rubber Soul was their pot-influenced record, this is their LSD-influenced record, which makes a lot of sense, because some of this stuff is just, no one would have ever thought of it unless they were on something. Tomorrow Never Knows definitely has that vibe. But the first track on this album is also something they had never done before. George Harrison kicking off an album, which is huge for George. And this is actually, I think, one of his more underrated Beatles tracks. I just love it. I think it's a really cool bluesy riff, and he's talking about how much taxes suck. And I mean, hey, that couldn't be more true. And I just love how it starts off with him kind of oddly saying in a different time signature, 1, 2, 3, and then just kicks in. You got that strong bass sound by Paul on here, and Paul actually does the lead guitar solo on this song. A lot of people don't know that, but also kind of influenced by an Eastern kind of style, which makes it a little off-kilter and odd. Something that George may not have thought of himself, but just love it, man. Let me tell you how it will be. Da, da, doom, boom, doom. Just such a cool groove, such an odd song. And then, to get even weirder, the second song on this album has no normal Beatles instrumentation, because George Martin got an octet of just basically string instruments to accompany Paul on Eleanor, Rigby. And man, this is just one of my favorite Beatles tracks of all time. Such an amazing melody, and then the harmonies that come in with look at all the lonely people, and it's just got such a sad story about this Eleanor Rigby and Father Mackenzie, and just what happens in their lives. And you know, it's just a really deep take on loneliness in general, something that Paul especially had not, up until this point, it was mostly, you know, love songs. And this is them just going out of the box, both sonically and with songwriting. And I think it is still one of Paul's best to date. So then you got, again, going into the Eastern vibe, this one goes full-fledged in, Love You Too by George again. And it's probably one of my lesser favorites. There's a couple songs on here that I'm just not crazy about, and that's part of the reason I'm going to go ahead and say I give this an 8.5 out of 10, which is a classic to me. But a lot of people hold this in higher regard. You see it at the top of a lot of greatest albums of all time lists, like in the top 3. And it's just not even in my top 3 Beatles records, to be honest with you. It's definitely in my top 5, but there's some misses on here. Like, to me, Yellow Submarine, as much of a beloved track as it is, does nothing for me. I'm just not a Ringo guy in general anyway, and it's just such a silly, it's really like a kid's song. So when you think of it that way, it's cute and fun to sing along to, but I just never listen to that track. I skip it always. But then, I mean, you got so many great classics on here, like Good Day Sunshine, such a feel-good song by Paul. The piano sounds awesome, and it's got that Here Comes the Sun vibe of just, it's going to be a great day. And Good Day Sunshine. And again, the harmonies that the Beatles are known for. Just such a fun track. Paul had a lot of really good ones on here. I Got to Get You Into My Life, which is a take on Motown. Of course, the ballad Here, There, and Everywhere, which isn't my favorite Paul ballad. Art Garfunkel said it's his favorite Beatles song of all time, which makes sense because, you know, in Simon and Garfunkel, he was the high harmony ballad guy. But this was Paul kind of responding to the Beach Boys' God Only Knows, which I think is the better song of the two. But man, I mean, what a rivalry when you've got the Beatles and the Beach Boys just going back and forth to just make the best music imaginable at the time. So good. And of course, John, as well as Tomorrow Never Knows, he had some great tracks on here like I'm Only Sleeping, She Said, and Your Bird Can Sing, which is just a great, as defiant as the lyrics are on this track. You don't get me. It's just got such an upbeat sound, and the guitars sound soaring and beautiful, and then you got the two guitar solos with harmony from Paul with George. Just a beautiful track. I love that one. It's really a standout to me. For No One is another one that I think maybe a little overrated. I know a lot of people really love that song. I think it's okay. It's not one of the best Paul ballads, but again, it gives a little bit of Paul's somber side to a ballad, which is, again, you know, the Beatles were really just diving into trying different things on this record, and while all of it didn't work and some of it wasn't amazing, the amazing parts on here are just really, really great. I mean, just for Eleanor Rigby alone, this is a classic record. Tomorrow Never Knows, Taxman. Man, I could go on and on about this, but I'm not going to. This is just, if you haven't heard Revolver, please do. It's so good. This is the US version, by the way, so it's missing a song called Dr. Robert and one other track, which I don't miss Dr. Robert either. That's one of the not so great tracks on here. But yeah, Fab Four, classic. Let me know what you guys think. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are going to crucify me for not saying this is in the top 3 Beatles records, but it's just not one of my, you know, very favorites. There's so many great albums. Abbey Road, the White Album, Let It Be, Help. I put all 4 of those ahead of this one. This would probably be in the 5th spot for me. I will be doing a top 10 Beatles records video, hopefully not too far off in the future. And guys, I do top 10s every Tuesday, so if you like this video, please subscribe. Check out some of my other content. I really appreciate you watching, and as always, Viva La Vinyl. So guys, I really appreciate you checking out this video. Please check out some of my other related content. You can see that here. And please, if you like this, subscribe by clicking the globe in the middle of these 2 videos. I would really appreciate it. I have tons more content coming. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys soon.